protection? What if somebody tries to mug you? What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo. Good.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jack booty cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You got a riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is Tuesday. We are live. This is Primer Time on UCY. My name is Michael. I am dry.
My name is Nicholas, and so am I.
Dude, I'm telling you, isn't it? It's just the little things in life that make it just absolutely bearable.
Well, you know that's more appropriate than you know, because we just had a pretty decent storm earlier this afternoon, and I'll tell you what, you know, the route that I take to get into town is the same route that my wife takes to get out of town. And between the time that I drove through a certain stretch of road and the time that she hit it, a tree had come down during a microburst and had crushed a let me see what kind of car it was, because that's one I won't be driving. It was a PT Cruiser crushed by a tree.
You don't have to look at a PT Cruiser and say because it got crushed you won't be driving it. Just look at the PT Cruiser itself.
Yeah, well, you know, but that's a Chrysler model, right? So it's not exactly a Dodge.
Well, Dodge just means to avoid. And then what are they going to translate Dodge to when China buys them? Because, that Chrysler, Jeep, Fiat, Dodge is probably going to end up being bought by Great Wall Motors of China, which is the new Toyota.
That's right. And Great Wall Motors is very, very popular in the United Kingdom.
Great Wall Motors is popular pretty much everywhere except the United States.
But surprisingly, not in ISIS-controlled territory. That still reigns supreme by Toyota.
Right, but you start looking at any of the stuff going on in Africa, and the Toyota Technical has been replaced by the Great Wall pickup truck.
That's right, the Great Wall Steed.
And it's not a bad-looking truck.
Yeah, you know, as far as Chinese autos go.
If they're using it in Africa for a technical, it can't be as bad as as a Fiat 500 or something like that.
Hey, you leave the Cinquecento out of this.
I've got a buddy who just bought it's a Jeep. It's their smallest one. It's the Jeep. I want to say it's a Renegade.
Yeah, the Renegade.
Yeah, it's a little goofy looking thing. It's a nifty little nimble vehicle. He got the 2-wheel drive, and it's small. It's small, but it's a fairly interesting car. And I ended up seeing it parked next to a 4-door Fiat 500. And strangely enough, it's got the exact same wheelbase.
Yeah, go figure. Yeah. Unibody construction, right?
Is the Jeep Renegade just a Fiat 500 4-door with a different body? That's something that we'll have to investigate in the future.
Well, all I
I'll
know
tell
is
you
that more than likely the next Nick Mobile will be a Ford F-250.
I'll tell you what. After this whole trip and everything, and I mean, I got a Chevy that's got a 350 in it, right? I got a Chevy 3500. It's a big truck. It's an older truck, but I mean, it works good, and it's a damn stout, solid truck. But after this evacuation, dude, I got 5 miles a gallon pulling my camper, and I wasn't necessarily like breaking any kind of speed records with this thing. So I am of the next opinion, or of the opinion that my next truck is going to be diesel.
Then that would be one thing, except for when you get to pull into a major metro city that wants to tax the shit out of diesel, because
Dude,
that's
at
what the
that
rich
point,
Europeans
I
are
just
using.
I go buy vegetable oil and dump it in there. I'm not necessarily. That's the one of the things that I worry about least. What I need is something that's going to have the power and the balls to pull. And I mean,
And that's
take a look
why I'm looking at the
Houston.
F-250.
Yeah, I like the F-250. I mean, I'm not necessarily a Ford fan, just because there's a couple things about Ford I don't like, and one of the things I don't like, but I mean, this is the way of all vehicles now. Ford has like an ignition coil on each cylinder, and I'm you know what? Honestly, I bet you all the new ones do now. I'm not keeping up with them, but I know that the Fords have one, and they've had an ignition coil on each cylinder for probably about the last 10 years. And everybody who I know has one is in a constant changing out them coil packs mode. Because number one, it's a lot of money to buy 8 of them things all at once. I mean, $75 a piece or something. So everybody buys one and replaces it, and then 2 months later they got to get another one, and then a month later they got to get another one. So it seems like you're like stuck in this like endless cycle of throwing $75 and an hour's worth of like farting around on the thing to mess with. That just does not seem right to me. I mean, I'd almost trade for a Volkswagen at that point.
Yeah. Well, you can't trade for Volkswagen because that's the Volks car. You know what I mean? That's the people's car. That is that's
a racist expression of mobility is what it is.
that it is. I'll bet you they had 0 African Germans involved in the production of that vehicle.
That's something else that like just in the last couple of weeks, seeing the whole thing with the hurricanes, and then paying attention to CNN, which unfortunately I still do. But I've seen how desperate it is, to where the hurricane's going on, and they're wondering if Trump's collusions with the Russians could have possibly influenced the hurricane. That's just, I don't know. I mean, like, honestly, I've got good friends that are right now still affected by the floods that are going on. I've got 2 friends that are one friend is stuck in their house and can't get out. They've got no water. They probably don't. I mean, they don't have any well water. They've got water stored, but they can't. She can't do nothing with her water because her well's under. Her well is under water.
So I mean, anything that she does get coming through the pipes has to be completely boiled.
Oh, probably. But and then you got to think about how do you poop in a situation like that? Because honestly, if your septic's underwater, it's not going to necessarily drain all that well.
No, it's not. And you're going to have to go revert to Army old school, dig yourself a cat hole, or go find a wood line somewhere.
How do you dig a cat hole when the water is an inch from your front door?
Well, very quickly.
Yeah. I think you send a floater or something at that point. But I mean, and we've got a lot of things happening in this nation right now. I mean, we've got the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey that just kind of waffle stomped all of Texas, or the Gulf Coast of Texas. You've got Hurricane Irma, who is currently riding up the slot, and God knows if it's going to just bisect Florida, or if it's going to like miss Florida and end up in the Gulf. That thing's 185 miles an hour. We've got forest fires in Los Angeles. We got forest fires in Oregon. We got forest fires in Montana. I got a good friend in Montana who's just on the edge of being evacuated. Actually, he just texted me a couple minutes ago. His evacuation order was lifted. Fire's a half mile from his house. How does this fake nothing burger story of Trump and Russia and collusion and all that, how does that take place over like the heartache that honestly millions of Americans are feeling?
Well, let's take a look at that. I'm actually glad you brought that up because I just did a unscientific experiment, and I wanted to see what the two major news outlets in our country have on their homepage, and I'll start off with CNN right off the bat, and I'll give you two guesses of what you can think is number one headline leading that page. What did you think it is?
Today's headline of CNN would be Trump racistly throws out the dreamers who really only want to help make America better.
You are correct, sir.
Or something about the Russians.
Yeah, you are correct. Lead story is the DACA memo, prepare to leave the U.S. The picture is of a strikingly a brown young female with long hair parted straight down the middle, in an apparent homage to her historical relative, outside of the United States, surrounded by similarly brown individuals holding red flags.
Red flags, like commie flags.
Well, red is one of those colors that's kind of been co-opted.
I'll tell you, at that point, send them sons of bitches home. We don't need it. We don't need them. We got enough Bolsheviks already fucking things up here. We do not need any more. We don't need any practice Bolsheviks. We don't need the offspring of Bolsheviks trying to do it. No. Goodbye. Yeah. Goodbye. I got no... and honestly, like some of the news I've heard about this day has really, really like totally frosted my cookies. I mean, it's made me just like beyond angry. I think incredulous would be a word that I could use, but they're talking about these people like, oh, well, they came in when they were 3 years old and they're 24 now, and now they're
they've been breaking the law for 21 years of what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is when they turned 18, number one, you got to register for the Selective Service, and number two, why didn't you go out and become an American? Why didn't you apply for citizenship?
That costs money, man. Dreamers got a dream.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You'll be dreaming on the other side of the wall.
Yeah. So check out what the head story is on the
wall is La Pared.
Yeah, check out what the lead story is. Well, I couldn't hear your bad Spanish, but check out what the lead story is on Fox. Irma worse than Harvey.
See, and I noticed that I did catch a little bit of some news clips showing that CNN and MSNBC were more worried about Trump and Russia, while Fox was covering one of the largest storms to ever hit the United States.
Or the world, for that matter. It is a mere 4.5 miles slower than the fastest winds ever recorded.
Last I saw, it was 185 mile per hour.
Yeah,
that's a butt kicker right there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's a serious amount of wind speed.
And it doesn't look like it's slowing down. Much love to all my friends in Florida. I got several friends in Florida, and I hope you all stay safe. This is, I don't know. I hope you have rubber boots, water, and dry underwear.
Yeah, well, the big thing is, like I said, in a natural disaster like this, first thing you definitely want to have is a large reserve of potable water. You definitely need that, whether it's for consumption, whether it's for, cleaning yourself or your family, or, just.
All right. So I've been in this situation recently, and the potable water situation, I would almost say that none of it is for cleaning.
No. When I mean cleaning, I'm talking about like cleaning a child, making sure that, their skin,
At that point, I think it's far more effective to buy yourself a case of baby wipes and a bunch of like that Purell hand wash.
Yeah. You do what you can.
Water is dear, And I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm a desert kid, and I personally look at people who have grass yards in arid areas as those people are not friends of humanity right there. But so I've always, I mean, hell, I turn off the water when I brush my teeth.
Oh yeah, exactly. You're trying to save the world. You're a good steward of the Earth's
Well,
resources.
I mean, it was something that was pounded into my head, so it's like that. So I mean,
So then, how come
totally
you didn't
understand.
accept the metric system then?
Dude, I love the metric system, and my favorite metric number is 9 millimeter.
Yeah, there you go.
So speaking of like disasters and 9 millimeters, you linked me an interesting story here a little while ago.
Right. Which one? The Gen 5.
Firearms being, not necessarily the Gen 5. Firearms being removed.
Yeah.
And now we have to explain that this is in Guam. It's not in the continental United States. Am I correct? Is it Guam?
No, it's not. It's actually the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Virgin Islands. So it's not continental U.S. There are different things going on in the outlying territories than there are in the continental United States. But that's not to say that it hasn't happened here, because we had firearms confiscation during Katrina by the Louisiana National Guard and several Louisiana Parish Sheriff's Departments. It did not happen here, as far as I know. I've not heard any stories about it. Texas seems to have a little bit more respect for it. That's just.
But I mean, take this into the consideration. We had it's been 12 years since Hurricane Katrina decimated the lower parishes of Louisiana and New Orleans. Cops were confiscating firearms. Cops were taking guns out of people's cars. Did you see any of that with this latest storm that hit through Texas?
I saw none of that, and to be honest with you, my cops, the cops in my town, minus the idiot cop who I don't even talk to or look at anymore, they were very professional. But if you caught them on the sly, I don't think there was going to be any sort of serious investigation if you'd have shot somebody who had your generator in his hands. And there were isolated incidents of looting, and it was stuff like generators or somebody left the gas can out, and maybe somebody's house who got destroyed and they weren't in town. And I that's part and parcel of life in any city. You're not going to live in a city with 100% golden, beautiful people. You are going to have scumbags around, and that's everywhere. Here it seemed to be not as bad, but I don't know. It's this whole thing has been a real eye opener for me in a couple of different ways, and I was really kind of heartened by my community's response, like in the first couple of days following it. There seemed to be a lot of like community togetherness, and a lot of people trying to help their fellow man, help their neighbor, and then donations started showing up, and it seemed that in that time that the donation showed up, that all that community love and joy and care for your fellow man went out the window, and it became kind of a, I don't know, like a Black Friday at Walmart kind of a thing, and that was just a little bit disturbing to me. I mean, just to see how people like turned on a dime like that.
Well, and that's the thing, because you saw, I'm sure you've seen, the stories of the Walmart. I want to say it was in Illinois, which doesn't surprise me, but it was a fact that somebody had pulled a gun at a Walmart when they were just attempting to buy school supplies. This was not in response to any natural disaster. This was in response to, you got the last Mead, notebook of college
You got paper. The last trapper keeper.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't even know if there's a place to place blame on that. I mean, you have to place blame on the person who commits that act, but then you almost have to like look at that and where did that come from? And maybe in a situation like that, I mean, I'm not for gun control, but if you live in a situation in an area where stuff like that happens quite often, like somebody pulling out a gun at a Walmart or at the Taco Bell or something because you gave them the wrong like fire sauce or something. I can almost see like a point in police confiscating firearms at that point.
Yeah, well, but I mean that like I said, that's a whole thing where it comes down to this is just somebody who is trying to get their kid outfitted for school. This was, this is,
this is not a life and death situation. This is not
exactly
a potential starvation of a child or prolonged hunger or anything.
Yeah, I mean, and you think that this is something so benign as making sure that you get your kid what the kid needs to get to school. You would kind of forecast that, and you not do it the day before school starts. There is such a thing as Amazon.com, which will deliver shit right to your door.
Yeah, I don't know how to like respond to the lack of preparation because I mean honestly, we are in somewhat of a financial bind in the nation. I think things are.
But you know what? What's even worse than being in a financial bind is being in a bind that shows that the people in this country don't know how to make the basic preparations for anything. If you can't forecast for your kid going to school, what have you been doing for the last 3 months?
I don't even think, Nick, it has anything to do with like any kind of like forward sight or looking to the future or anything like that. I think it's infuriating is what it is. And honestly, it's a decay of the moral fiber is really what it is.
So, you talk about decay of the moral fiber. Let's talk about some folks who most often do not have any moral fiber. Let's talk about our friends in the police.
Let's talk about our wonderful boys in blue public servants. Let's see what.
Yep. So we have the one in Sacramento about the cops shooting an unarmed individual for having a cell phone.
Oh gee, well you're gonna have to like seriously, you're gonna have to like delineate on that one because that's happened many times.
Yeah, so the individual was getting ready to basically, I think there was going to be some kind of police presence, and he was setting up to videotape, and the cops shot him. So, right off the bat, it tells you there's a couple things wrong here because, oh, by the way, this police officer was errant in his duties because, number one, he did not positively identify that the individual was a threat. He said, I thought.
We should look at this and how many rules did he violate?
Oh, he probably violated about 15 different departmental ruals and
of the 4 rules of gun safety. How many did he violate?
Everything.
He slashed them all. He took a knife to him.
Yeah. So you got that, and then you've got the one that we talked about a little bit briefly before we went on air was the nurse at the University of Utah Hospital who was not only assaulted but arrested for doing her job, and
not only arrested, but she was threatened. Now,
not only was she threatened, she was improperly falsely imprisoned, basically because she was unjustly arrested. The officer was definitely derelict in his duties because, number one, he wasn't aware of the law being passed that had, come through the
Supreme Court. That right there assumes that cops know something. And seriously, cops.
I will say he knew how to put the freaking handcuffs on her. He looked like he knew how to do that.
That's all he knows how to do. When you are a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah,
and seriously, I've got some experience from that nurse's point of view because I worked in hospital ERs. I worked EMS. I've got an idea of how police and healthcare staff interact, and I can't say that what that cop did is unusual. I've seen
No,
the
you,
exact.
you can't say that what he did is unusual, but you can sit there and certainly say, number one, the woman had her supervisor on the phone explaining to the officer, "Hey, you're making a big mistake. She's in the right. You have no legal authority to submit for a blood sample. You
And
don't have a
that
warrant."
policy is not just that hospital. They
No,
didn't
no, no,
come
no,
up. with that.
no, no. That
There's
was a Supreme Court decision.
there's something called the HIPAA laws, and the HIPAA laws protect a patient's privacy.
Yeah.
And this is a complete violation of HIPAA laws. And to be straight up honest, if that nurse would have violated that HIPAA law and somebody would have found out about it, she'd never work anywhere again. She would be a traveling nurse going from nursing home to nursing home.
Yeah.
She wouldn't work anywhere because you violated a patient's privacy. That's something that's
and check this out. And one little known fact about her is that she's a 2-time Olympian. So it's not like she's not a moron. She's done her job. She was doing her job well.
She's a burn unit nurse.
Exactly.
That's up and above and beyond a regular nurse. She has to know how to care for somebody who's got seriously life-threatening, probably the most life-threatening thing you can have happen to you in a traumatic situation is a burn. I mean, a burn is, it's a great big old loss of body fluid. It's a massive.
It's damage to the largest organ in your body.
Right. And interesting fact about this case with this nurse and this cop, the patient who was in question happened to be an off-duty cop from Idaho.
Yeah. And so this is where the story gets sketchy, because I've seen the video of the fireball that was on the road, and apparently he either drove through it or was impacted by it. The individual was not under arrest. There was no electronic warrant, and the patient himself did not consent. Those are the three things that either.
Yeah, but the guy who was in the accident, this off-duty cop who was the patient at the subject of this, there was never any suspicion of him having done anything wrong. He was an innocent victim in basically a bunch of cops feeling their balls, and I mean that honestly, because what were those cops doing prior to that? They were involved in a high-speed police chase. There's nothing else that gets a cop a bigger boner than that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to mash the pedal on this Dodge Charger, and I'm gonna get this person who doesn't have a driver's license, and put everybody at goddamn risk.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, like I said, they're gonna find out that this individual was not only in the wrong, he's gonna be without a job, and that department is gonna get sued. But what I also want to bring to attention of is the rent-a-cops who were working in the lobby of that hospital did nothing to protect the hospital employee, which is what they are paid to do.
I can't fault those rent-a-cops because
I can.
I can't. Because I know what hospital rent-a-cops are. They're 99% of the time they are unarmed. They're a guy who's got maybe some former military experience or something, and he's just got a job. He's got a job to work in the hospital, make sure that nobody like pees in the corner, or if there's some kind of like outrage or something, he's there to provide a uniformed presence. He's not there to stop crime or anything like that. Now, you got a cop who's got a gun, and honestly, cops shoot people all the freaking time for nothing. I can't get on those guys' case for not intervening there, because honestly, there was 2 cops, and if two guards would have tackled that cop, his buddy would have shot them. Straight up.
But here's the thing: there were three, count them, 1, 2, 3. That would have been plenty enough, and those guys probably have a taser. They could have tased both of those cops, had them down on the ground. You know what? And I tell you what, if they'd have done it, they'd have probably had jobs for life at that hospital too.
You know what? I just having worked around, hospital security like that, I don't see that happening. I really don't. And honestly, you can't take it to a cop like that.
Why not? They take it to everybody else like that.
Right, but they have the badge. And then they have the Civilian Investigation Board that will rule, just like it happened just the other day. It was a woman who I don't know, something was going on at her house, and she had a little yappy dog, and the little yappy dog was making noise, and the cop said, "Control your dog." The woman bent down to get the dog out of the way, and the cop shot her.
Oh, well, that's better than the one where the cop was going through the house looking for dogs to shoot.
You know, I mean, some dogs, right?
Yeah.
No, what the hell is going on? What are we hiring? And honestly, we're hiring sub-morons. We're hiring guys with 90 IQs.
Which is amazing to me to how they could stay out of trouble long enough to be hired.
I don't know. I don't see them as being rebels. I see that 90 IQ is making them lackeys to authority. I really do. They've got no inner drive to make sure that the right thing is done. All they want to do is just follow the order and wear the uniform and carry the gun and drive the car and maybe harass somebody.
No, I mean there are those that are like that. You know, I'm sure that out there somewhere there are good, decent, honest cops. They are just few and far between.
You know what? I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. That the few and decent, honest cops. I'm almost to the point where I'm going to say that there are no decent, honest cops. Because if there were decent, honest cops, they would stop their asshole partners, their asshole coworkers that are doing this and making the entire American public hate them.
Well, you know, but here's the thing. You can be either a part of the solution or you can be a passive part of the problem. And in their organization, what do you think is going to happen to the guy who steps out and goes against another member of the force? What do you honestly think is going to happen?
I saw the movie Serpico. You end up with a bullet in your head.
There you go. You think any of them are willing to take that risk? Probably not.
See, and just on that, that's why I can't fault those security guards at the hospital for not intervening. I really can't, because honestly, if they'd have done something, they'd be dead. They'd be dead.
Oh.
It would have been assault on an officer, and he was totally justified. Blah blah blah. You touched a cop. That's a third-degree felony. Blah blah blah. All that bullshit. You know, like cops cops are almost as important as our gays or something, right? Because you can't do nothing with our gays or our fucking illegals. You have to respect them, and cops are almost in that same group right now. And I got no respect for them anymore. I mean, I take it back. I got respect for a couple of them, and that's because I know them as people, and I know what they are. And there's one cop in my town who I really like. He's a member of this community, and he lives in this town. You'll run into him at the Family Dollar. You'll run into him at the burger place. You'll run into him at the gas station, and he helps people in town. He's very few like that.
Yeah, so check that out. So it's not that you totally disagree with me. You disagree with me mostly.
Mostly, yeah. I'd say about 89 to 97%.
Yeah. Well, like I said, and that means that there's few and far between. So I think we're on the same page.
Right.
So, but hey, I wanted to bring up numbers, and I wasn't going to talk about 6 million. I was going to talk about 400 million.
400 million.
That's right. The story is that there are now 400 million privately owned firearms in the United States. That means more than one per person.
Number.
Yeah,
that is a very, very scary number. How are we going to remain safe when we have 400 million guns around in this country?
We are going to remove the Confederate statues. That's how we're going to do it.
Absolutely. Except for we're going to leave the statue of Judah P. Benjamin up, the Jewish financier of the Civil War on the Confederate side. That statue can't be touched.
Yeah,
but all the other ones.
That would be racist.
That would be racist. So,
what do you think of the John Brown Gun Club and their fact that they are a very homogeneous club, being that there are no people that are of any other color other than white?
I've seen a couple of interviews with the John Brown Gun Club, and it's been the Phoenix chapter of the John Brown Gun Club.
Yeah, they're the ones that have a large Facebook presence.
Which, honestly, they are the only faction of the John Brown Club, a John Brown Gun Club that I can find. I can't find anything about any other gun club named the John Brown Gun Club other than the Phoenix group. All right. So today's enthusiastic communist likes to bill himself as part of the educated class. They hate people who voted for Trump because they're just low, blue collar, low educated workers who just don't know what's right. They're not thinking globally.
So they're not down with the global citizen movement.
They are. I think they are the exact same bourgeois pigs that they claim to hate. And once their fabulous communist revolution comes in, at some point they will be kneeled down and they will be shown the light. And by light, I mean the flash of the pistol that goes off right behind their ear for not being dedicated enough to the cause.
Yeah. Well, and think about it.
Are the poorest students of history I have ever seen, I've ever encountered. Not a goddamn one of them has ever read probably the most seminal tract on communism and socialism in the entire world, which would be George Orwell's Homage to Catalonia, which is a story of somebody who went to fight on the leftist side in the Spanish Civil War and the degradation of that entire movement, how it was corrupted, how it was a murderous, a bloody coup within that group to take over. And not a one of them have read that book. Not a one.
No, as long as you're still seeing black kids wearing Che Guevara shirts, you can tell that their teachers
I'll tell you what, Che Guevara would have shot anybody who wears a $75 T-shirt, no matter whose face is on it.
Exactly.
And failing to mention that how Che Guevara felt about our people of color. I mean, his direct quote is, "The Negro is indolent and lazy, prone to spending his money on drink and entertainment." When he was asked, what will the Cuban Revolution do for the black people, he was told, he replied that the Cuban Revolution will do for the Negro exactly what the Cuban Negro has done for the revolution. Nothing.
Yeah.
Those are his words. And these are the people that oh my God, I can't believe you said black. You didn't say African American. You're some kind of racist, blah, blah, blah. Brother Che would never. Where the hell are you from? Seriously, where the hell are you people from?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. The funny thing is that out there in California, we've had the oh gosh, you remember NAMBLA, right?
Oh, NAMBLA, the North American Man Boy Love Association. Lots of fine Irishmen in that group, by the way.
Exactly. They are closely aligned with the By Any Means Necessary movement of who the mayor of Berkeley is a member.
The mayor of Berkeley is a member. The chief of police in Berkeley is subservient to that man. Those are the Bolsheviks of today.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So apparently within the Berkeley area and within the Bay Area, the large Bay Area in general, a lot of these teachers who are in, different middle schools and high schools are basically using their classrooms as recruiting centers for this ideology and for these organizations, to include the women who shut down the Berkeley City Council meeting by yelling and screaming.
And, at that point, if I was to go to a city council meeting and start yelling and screaming, dude, I'd be cuffed and on my way out that door.
Yeah, exactly.
No, seriously,
that's because you're running a message that's contrary to the mob rule mentality.
And really, mob rule is exactly it. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is that mob rule throughout time has not worked out very well. I mean, here we go. We just celebrated a socialist holiday, Labor Day here in our country. That got me thinking. Did you have any Labor Day parades out there?
You know what? I'll tell you what, Labor Day actually involved labor here because I am in post-hurricane cleanup. So Labor Day
Exactly.
involved actual labor. There was
Exactly.
no celebrating of Rosa Luxemburg, no questioning why she can't swim with a hole in her head. None of these things. We actually had shit to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the only labor that should be celebrated, right? Not for, Marxist ideologies that are, here to, espouse the virtues of godless Marxism.
Well, not only to espouse the virtue of godless Marxism, but to create the false class struggle that Marxism and socialism really depend on.
Well, not only that, but I mean, just like you say right there, class struggle, redistribution of wealth. The rich have it easy, the poor have it hard. You're in the state you're in because of this group. That's Marxism right there.
Okay, so here's what I find to be very interesting is a lot of the vocal and enthusiastic communists and socialists of today are the children of very, very wealthy former radicals of the 60s and 70s. They are the children of privilege of these people.
Oh, yeah.
And today's Marxist and socialist and communist, they're really not rebelling against anything. They are endorsing the system as it is. The system, because like it or not, we have a lot of socialist aspects in this country. And honestly, I don't necessarily have a problem with socialism in the fact that you work with your neighbor, you help your neighbor, but I don't get into this by, to each of his own need, of his own accord, and all that kind of thing. I don't get into that. You gotta make your lunch.
Yeah.
And if you don't make your lunch, you starve. Now, if you're crippled and sick and ill, somebody should give you a hand. In other places, they don't give you a hand. They either let you starve, they shoot you in the head because you become a drain on the system.
Well, and they're going to do that to you one way or the other, right?
Thing.
No.
That happens everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that happens everywhere. Not only that, think about if you don't toe the line good enough. If you don't toe the line good enough, Comrade Cletus.
Comrade, please.
Yeah,
please.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing is that, you have a generation of people who have been brought up. I mean, as far back as when you and I were going to public school in California, we saw the indoctrination taking place. It happens early, and these people go into these professions. They go into academia. They go into primary school education. They look for the useful idiots, and they get them indoctrinated. They're basically radicalizing kids from as early as 7-8 years old, because what do? We sit them in front of a TV all day, and we tell them how they have to be multicultural, and they have to accept things, and they can't have morals, and you're just backwards because you cling to your religion,
Well, I see the exact thing that you're talking about, and I mean I have seen it, and I see it now, and I find the derision towards somebody who likes nationalism. Personally, I'm a nationalist. And I mean, you can call me a national socialist if you wanted to, because I believe the United States is very strong. I believe that we should not be beholden to the corporations, definitely not beholden to any kind of Israeli foreign policy bullshit that we've been nailed to the wall to for like the last 50 fucking years. I think that, yeah, we should have some sort of cooperation between the corporations, the government, and the people. I think that Dow, and I'm just going to use Dow because Dow is a great big corporation near me. There's a couple more. I could go with BASF or DuPont or somebody like that. But I think they should be able to do whatever it takes to make them money. But at the same time, if what's taken to make them money has to destroy a creek, or it has to just, ruin somebody's water table or something like that, they are on the line for that. They have to pay for that. They don't get some kind of corporate tax subsidy to keep on screwing up the people's water. That's not how we make healthy babies in this country.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
I really get kind of mad at this. What I find to be just completely almost hilarious is this uproar over the Nazis, the white nationalists. I'll tell you what, I've seen a couple of these rallies, and number one, not a fucker one of these guys are a real Nazi. Number two, white nationalism. Define white.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, define white. Do you mean a tall 6'2" dude from 6'4" guy from like Sweden, or do you mean like a 5'4" guy from Portugal? Which one is white?
Oh please, you can't say that Portugal's white. They're Iberian. You know that.
Well, then what about Italians? And we're not even going to go with the Sicilian thing because we all seen that movie already. But
Yep.
Northern Italians, they're dark hair. They got dark eyes. They tan well.
Yeah. Well, check this out. Never mind the fact that everybody who was getting settled up on the north coast of Spain was those damn Irish.
Well, not only the damn Irish, but we've discussed this, you and I, before. Look, what is Spain's national food? It's pork. Ham.
Yeah.
Ham.
Yeah.
Jamon is Spain's national food. And your national food is
not kosher. Not kosher.
Well, it's not only not kosher, not halal, but is a test to see if you are going to eat that food. And if you eat that food, you pass the test.
Go. That would be the easiest test for me to pass.
Jews and Muslims for 900, 1,200 years.
It took them 500 to just kick them off the peninsula.
And that's a very big part of the Spanish history. And really, when it comes down to it, the Spanish killed a hell of a lot more people than anybody else.
Yeah, they were removing kebab before it was popular.
Right. They threw the merchant out. They threw the kebab out. Hell, they went and they killed Indians. They killed Africans. They killed a couple of Asians. And then when they got tired, they killed each other.
Well, and you got to remember that they didn't kill a whole lot of Asians. They were just killing mostly the Filipinos and the Guamanians.
Yeah, that's kind of Asian, right?
Not to hear the mainland Asians say it. They're going to tell them, nope, you're Pacific Islanders. And then the rest of the Pacific Islanders say, nope, you're Asian.
Those poor island people. Always
I tell you what, they get the raw end of the deal.
Yeah,
so,
I go ahead.
No, I was going to say we had that story about the new Ruger American rifle in 7.62 by 39, your favorite caliber.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that is a nifty rifle. I like the Ruger American Rifle series. It's a well-made firearm. It's got a polymer stock, bolt action. They take a detachable magazine. Some people like that, some people don't. I think it's pretty nifty. I really like the fact that the Mini 30 or the new Ruger American 30 or whatever they're calling it takes the Ruger Mini 30 magazine. I think that is just awesome. And I'm not the kind of guy who will sit there and put 30 rounds through a bolt action, rapid fire. But
yeah, you're going to have a bad day if you do that.
But I'll tell you what, if you needed to, you can.
That's true.
That's just like, a guy who owns a Corvette or something. He doesn't drive it at 90 miles an hour everywhere, but if he needs to, he can.
Well, the thing that I particularly like about this,
American.
The thing that I like about this right off the bat is that because it doesn't come with open sights, it does come with a factory installed one-piece rail for a scope. It also comes with a threaded barrel should you decide that you want to put a moderator or a suppressor on it. And that's something that you don't have to spend $150 right off the bat to go get a barrel threaded.
Right.
So that's pretty good for me. And like I said, I think Ruger, their stock took a hit the other day. So, everybody go out and buy more Ruger so my stock goes back up.
Well, but you have to look at one of the reasons why the firearm stocks are dropping. It's because there is no dire threat against the gun owners' rights right now. Anybody who comes up with any sort of argument at this point in time about firearms needing to be restricted or anything is basically laughed out of the room. That was an argument for 2 years ago. That was an argument from 4 years ago. We are in a new era right now, and truly, our greatest issue is Nazis. We're completely scared of a 70-year-old political ideology that's got no candidates anywhere.
Well, not any that are, going to get you an office in a city or a town outside of California.
I wonder what would happen if I ran for mayor of my town as a national socialist.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know. I think you'd have.
If I could get on TV with Don Lemon and make him cry.
Oh, Jesus, it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be hard. So yeah, that's.
Then if it's not hard, he's not interested.
Oh,
LaDonna Lemon.
That one came out of nowhere. So hey, we got to go hit some firearm safety.
All right, Utah police, please pay attention to this. Any cop that shoots a person when they're looking at a dog, please listen to this. Every firearm is loaded until you visually and physically inspect and ensure that the firearm is not loaded. Rule number 2, keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction. Do not point it at a woman while she's picking up her dog. Rule number 3, know what the target is. Know it's beyond your target. If you're aiming at the dog, please do not hit the woman who's picking up the dog. And rule number 4, which is being just trounced all over the damn place, is keep the booger hook off the bang switch until you're ready to discharge the weapon into an appropriate target, not the woman picking up the dog.
Yeah. Well, and since we're talking about, law enforcement and the arrests of people, I don't believe we covered that FPS Russia, Kyle Myers, was arrested on the middle of August last month.
All right, so I don't like FPS Russia. When his videos first came out, I think I enjoyed about the first 3 or 4, and then it just became, I don't know, it became like sloppy self-promotion to me. He had a lot of neat toys. He had that fake Russian accent, and he had a lot of stupid people subscribing to him and enjoying his videos and singing his praises. Well, it looks like Kyle Myers, who's gone through a couple of bouts of hardship. And hardship is a nice way to say it. I mean, there's been some ugly, stinky things happen. The producer of his videos died in a mysterious bullet to the back of the head, kind of an accident with no sort of witnesses or anything.
Was his buddy the Secretary of Transportation?
No. And Dick Cheney was nowhere to be found with the 12 gauge. Yeah, not a Ron Brown sort of situation by any means.
Yeah.
But he ended up being shot, and this was the guy who actually ended up getting Mr. Myers all of his Class 3 weaponry and all of his destructive devices and all the neat toys that he played with. And quite honestly, he played with a lot of neat toys. He really did. There was a lot of jackassery involved, and honestly, I mean, you show me all the neat toys. I've seen them before, and I don't need to see some guy with a fake accent doing it. I mean, to me, it was like almost like watching like video game reviews or something. That's just not my thing. Mr. Myers allegedly received some marijuanas, possibly a reefer or 2 in the mail, and he signed.
Ooh, that's bad.
He got busted. I mean, yeah, that's federal, right? I mean, like, seriously, send that shit FedEx.
You don't send that stuff in the mail. That's for sure.
You don't not send it in the post office. You send that shit UPS or FedEx and overnight. I mean, don't be stupid about this. Anyhow, he's in a bad spot, and I don't think it's going to get any better for him. I guess that's kind of an idea about, if you're going to get big, keep your nose clean, because somebody will find the dirt about you.
Oh, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, just watching the gif of him trying to shoot the truck that is loaded with tannerite shows you this guy ain't a bright individual.
No, he's not. I mean, what did he stand, like 40 yards away from that truck, and then a big old hunk of that door come flying past his head?
Yeah, whatever that was.
Well, why couldn't we have 3 inches of grace from God there? Just stand to the left, son.
Oh man, yeah, that's crazy. So
I'm not necessarily a fan of his. I don't necessarily want to say whatever he did was wrong or right. I will say that he almost brought it on himself by being such a conspicuous figure that he didn't have to be.
Okay. Well, I think that his time is quickly running out.
I think so too. I mean, well, honestly, I mean, like, look, if you were to receive something like that in the mail, I think you're looking at what, 5 years?
Oh God, probably even longer than that.
Well, I think it depends on weight and things like that. But I mean, he's looking at a minimum of 5 years. He's going to lose his right to own a firearm. They're going to go to his house and take, and which I think they've already done. They've gone to his house and taken every firearm that he and his parents own because he lives at his parents' house.
Ah, that's when you have to get into the nuts and bolts of where he has on files an address for his stash.
Well, and then if he, played around with those addresses and things, now he's falsified a federal form because the 4473 is a federal form, and that's a whole nother issue with charges.
Yeah, well,
speaking of, that he is screwed. He is screwed.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to be offline here shortly. So hey, one of the things I saw an ad for a Anderson Arms through Anderson. These guys that make the low cost lowers for AR-15s.
Right. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say they make low cost lowers for AR-15s. They make a lot of lowers. The
Right.
Anderson mark lowers end up being lower cost because Anderson's not such it's not a name like Yankee Hill or Lewis Machine or anything like that. But they end up making lowers for other companies and they will put that company's roll mark on it,
Right.
and then ship it off to them. So Anderson is kind of like a primary manufacturer in my mind.
Well, Primary Arms, who they are marketing through, had a link up for a $29 lower.
Holy cow, dude! Buy 10 of them sons of bitches.
That's amazing. Think about where we were just a few months ago.
Just a few years ago, a lower itself was going for $350
Right.
during the Great Mad Panic of 2013. I mean, seriously, $350 for a strip lower.
Yeah. I mean, $29 is like enough to do your budgeting stuff. So I'm actually on Primary Arms right now, and they are out of stock. And this is, it shows $49. But this is one of those things where it's like, it must have been a flash sale because that is crazy low price.
That is an insanely low price. That's a price that, almost kind of puts the Palmetto State Armory daily deals, which some of those Palmetto State daily deals are absolute blowouts. And it makes me wonder, either Palmetto State Armory is getting ready to go out of business or they are getting ready to be the next Colt, in my mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at... I was just going to say, I'm looking at I'm looking at their page for all the different lowers. We have... Tell me if you heard this one. Pink Tennessee Arms Hybrid. So this is the this is the little bit of aluminum where the threads are and things like that, and then the polymer for the rest of it.
It's metal reinforced at the stressed areas.
Right, and they have those in all kinds of designer colors. The Spikes Tactical is at 103. The Aero Precision is 79.
And Spikes Tactical, I honestly I can't see the benefit in paying the extra money for a Spikes Tactical lower, a Spikes Tactical upper, when, like you said, the Aero Precision is the exact same thing, the exact same quality. Holy cow, that went fast. Everybody, thank you very much. UCY.TV giving you what you get nowhere else.
What patriots